EU-US trade update, 6-month suspension on tariff countermeasures explained. In a surprising turn of events, the European Union has decided to suspend its countermeasures against U.S. tariffs for a period of 6 months. This decision follows a recent agreement with U.S. President Donald Trump, according to a statement by a Commission spokesperson on Monday. However, many questions remain unanswered, particularly regarding tariff rates on spirits. Trump's executive order, issued last week, set tariffs on most EU goods at 15%, but failed to include exceptions for cars and car parts. EU officials anticipate further executive orders in the near future. The spokesperson emphasized that the EU will continue collaborating with the U.S. to finalize a joint statement, as agreed upon on July 27. The suspension of the EU's countermeasures, which were set to take effect on August 7, aims to facilitate this process. The retaliatory tariffs consist of 2 components, one in response to U.S. steel and aluminum duties, and the other in reaction to Trump's baseline and car tariffs. This development raises questions about the future of EU-US trade relations and the potential impact on various industries. What are your thoughts on this decision? Do you believe it will lead to a more stable trade relationship between the EU and the US? Or is it merely a temporary solution to a complex issue? EU delays retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. What you need to know. In a significant development that could reshape international trade dynamics, the European Union has decided to postpone the implementation of retaliatory tariffs on American products for a period of 6 months. This decision, announced on Monday, aims to provide both the EU and the United States with ample time to put into action the trade agreement they finalized just last month. Originally scheduled to take effect on Thursday, these retaliatory tariffs will now be delayed until at least March. This move comes in the wake of a deal struck on July 27 between Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, and President Trump, which includes a 15% tariff on a wide range of goods imported from the EU. While this agreement does not yet encompass the exemptions for car parts or wine and spirits that the EU has been advocating for, it is anticipated to contribute to price stabilization in the market. Olaf Gill, a spokesperson for trade at the European Commission, expressed optimism about the agreement, stating, "This political agreement restores stability and predictability for citizens and businesses on both sides of the Atlantic." This sentiment underscores the importance of maintaining a balanced trade relationship, which is crucial for economic health on both sides of the ocean. The European Commission is actively collaborating with the U.S. to finalize a formal statement regarding the agreement. Gill further elaborated, "With these objectives in mind, the Commission will take the necessary steps to suspend by 6 months the EU's countermeasures against the U.S., which were due to enter into force on August 7. This suspension of retaliatory tariffs is set to take effect starting Tuesday. As this situation unfolds, it raises important questions about the future of transatlantic trade relations. Will this delay lead to a more comprehensive agreement that satisfies both parties? Or will the absence of certain exemptions create further tensions down the line? CBS News has reached out to the White House for their perspective on this evolving story, and it will be interesting to see how public opinion shapes the narrative moving forward. What are your thoughts on this trade agreement? Do you believe it will lead to lasting stability, or is it merely a temporary fix? Share your opinions in the comments. How President Trump's new tariff changes impact American jobs trade. 2025 Trade Update. Imagine a world where America no longer settles for trade deals that leave its workers behind. That's exactly what President Donald J. Trump is striving to create with his latest executive action, an order designed to recalibrate how the U.S. approaches global trade by modifying reciprocal tariff rates. This move isn't just about economics. It's about reshaping the rules of international commerce to ensure fairness, balance, and tangible benefits for American workers, farmers, manufacturers, and even the defense sector. And here's the kicker. This decision could redefine decades of trade policies that many believe have favored other nations at America's expense. But let's break this down, because understanding the nuances of trade policy can feel overwhelming without some context. On April 2nd, President Trump announced sweeping changes to tariffs, a flat 10% increase applied universally, along with higher country-specific tariffs targeting nations responsible for large U.S. trade deficits. These measures were set to take effect on April 9th, signaling a bold step toward addressing America's persistent annual trade imbalances. But here's where it gets controversial. Not every nation responded in the same way. Some jumped into negotiations, eager to strike meaningful trade agreements or security pacts with the United States. Others, however, either fell short of meeting the administration's expectations or chose not to negotiate altogether. Fast forward to today, and the president has decided to refine these tariff adjustments based on new developments and input from senior advisors. For instance, countries listed in Annex 1 of the executive order will face specific tariffs tailored to their unique situations. Meanwhile, any country not included in Annex 1 will automatically incur the baseline 10% tariff. It's a nuanced approach, one that aims to reward cooperation while holding uncooperative nations accountable. Now, you might be wondering why this matters so much. Well, consider this. For years, critics have argued that outdated trade policies have weakened America's position in the global market. They claim these policies led to unsustainable trade deficits, jeopardized national security, and left American industries struggling to compete. President Trump's strategy flips the script entirely, aiming to restore economic sovereignty and level the playing field. The results? Historic trade agreements that are already transforming relationships with major partners like the European Union, Japan, and the United Kingdom. Take the EU deal as an example. In exchange for accepting a 15% tariff rate, the bloc has committed to purchasing $750 billion worth of U.S. energy products and injecting another $600 billion into American investments by 2020. Similarly, Japan has pledged $550 billion in investments to revitalize key American industries while further opening its own markets to U.S. exports, all under a 15% tariff framework. Even the U.S.-UK agreement promises billions in expanded market access for American goods. Other nations, including Indonesia, the Philippines, South Korea, and Vietnam, are also coming to the table, helping protect domestic industries, open foreign markets, and attract overseas investment. And this is the part most people miss. Tariffs aren't just punitive measures. They're tools for incentivizing positive change. By imposing tariffs strategically, President Trump is encouraging businesses to relocate manufacturing operations to the U.S., creating jobs, boosting local economies, and strengthening supply chains. Already, billions in reshoring investments have been announced, breathing new life into communities across the country. Moreover, companies considering building facilities in the U.S. won't face tariffs on products made domestically, a clear win-win scenario. Of course, opinions vary widely when it comes to tariffs. Supporters argue they're essential for protecting American interests in an increasingly competitive global landscape. Critics, on the other hand, worry about potential repercussions, such as retaliatory tariffs or disruptions to international supply chains. So, we have to ask, is this aggressive stance on trade truly putting America first? Or does it risk alienating allies and destabilizing global markets? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Ultimately, President Trump's vision extends beyond mere numbers on a balance sheet. His administration is leveraging tariffs to achieve broader goals, safeguarding national security, advancing economic interests, and fostering fairer trade practices worldwide. Whether you agree or disagree with his methods, there's no denying the impact of these policies. One thing is certain: America's role in the global economy is evolving, and the stakes couldn't be higher.